Good day, my name is Christel from Frans, the Klerk Independent Technical Analysts. Murray wanted us to kick off with Merafe, listed on the JSE ticker MRF. And Murray, it's clear that this share is caught within a descending channel. Unfortunately, the first sign of optimism would be visible when the share starts to consolidate above R1.33. And the optimism around this descending channel will only be confirmed when that upper band of the descending channel, waiting there around R1.35, changes into a support. The share is nicely oversold, and we can see that the two moving averages on my stochastic has broken upwards, but it looks like that blue shorter moving average is running out of steam, which is seen as a little bit negative. However, 133 is your first sign of optimism, and then that 135, a possible target for the upside. Will be the length of the channel projected upwards from where it was confirmed. So if I can take this a little bit back, 135, we can see maybe R1.58 should this full formation play out. Obviously, a strong line in the sand would be that 40-week moving average, which would indicate that the long-term sentiment towards this share wants to change to positive when that moving average changes into a support. The share will be a warning again, or there would be a warning on the table when R1.20 changes into a resistance. The other share that Murray wanted us to look at was a SOAR. And interesting with the SOAR, it's reaching almost the same levels which it did in January 2018 when the share found some resistance. And Murray, when the share can't change these levels, 429 Rand, 420 Rand, when the share can't change these levels into a support again, in other words, starts to consolidate above it, the warning formation would be on the table. And that warning formation is a possible double top formation. And we know that double tops, head and shoulders, and triple top formations cannot be ignored, and is normally an indication that there might be some serious downside to come. What is beautiful, however, about this graph is the long lower shadows on all these candles, which highlight that there are investors that are nibbling the share despite the fact that it was in overbought territory. However, these levels need to change into a support, but when the share starts to consolidate below 356 Rand, I would assume that there is a loss of momentum and that the share maybe want to decline to lower levels. We can maybe make this a horizontal line depending on whether you want to use the real bodies or the shadows. You must just count which support would offer the best level, and there would be your support to say this is a possible double top. However, I'm saying possible because the double top formation will only be confirmed. In other words, the warning formation will only be triggered when this support level waiting there around 264.77 changes into a resistance. My 40-week moving average can be used as the first tool or the barometer benchmark to say when the share starts to consolidate below 336 Rand and 8 cents, the warning would be on the table for long-term investors that the sentiment towards the share has changed to negative. So these are your levels above the 417, 429, maybe more upside, but this possible double top and maybe a loss of momentum might be a warning, Murray. Charles had an interesting question about Coeur Mining, and we've discussed this previously, and they are listed on the New York Stock Exchange, and the ticker of the share is CDE. Now, we previously discussed this share that there was a possible, maybe when the share had this beautiful dragonfly candle, dragonfly doji candle, we said that this might be a possible double bottom, because we mentioned possible because it wasn't confirmed yet. I mean, we projected that if the share in oversold territory might reach for higher levels, this is a beautiful double bottom that might reach for higher levels. However, the share did not do that, and after the dragonfly doji candle, the momentum to the bottom just continued. Now, Charles bought it around $3.85, and his question was, Christel, when do I know and how do I know when should I top up? And that's quite a difficult question if you don't have the whole portfolio, but I just maybe want to try to answer Charles in this way. When you bought at 385, and my next confirmation of optimism was here around $3.04. And why here? Because this is a beautiful morning star formation. I've got a strong bearish engulfing candle. I've got a gravestone doji candle, so it can be any type of doji candle, and then a bullish engulfing candle. So when that level there around $3.04 changed into a support, that was confirmation of a possible turnaround. So Charles, you could have topped up there. So let's do the math. So it was at 385 and it dropped to 304. So that means there was about a 21% decline in the share price. Should you have added at 304, you would have bettered the price by 11%, assuming you top up with the same volume. So if you had 100 and you added another 100. But one must be very careful to do that because we know nothing is an exact science and the share could even maybe lose momentum again and drop to lower levels. Let's say, for example, Charles bought 3% of his total portfolio. He bought Kuru Mining at $3.85, and now he wants to top up with another 3%. That would better his price by 11, as I said. But a lot of it depends on where you look at it and who says what. But we normally suggest that never should one share be more than 10% of your total portfolio. Some people might say, no, it shouldn't be 12%, depending on what other shares you have in your portfolio that also represents, in this case, the mining sector. So there's a lot of variables that one should take into account when making this decision. But I think the bottom line, Charles, here is that when we top up, we must do the math and see, is it worth it to add to it, my position, and it will better my price by 11%. This share, this week alone, rose by 13.7%. So that might be an easier way to say, okay, it will be a lot easier for me to get into break even. We like it to top up only when the share is really rock bottom, when I at least have a higher low. So that means if the share declined, bounced a little bit, retrace again, but find support at a higher level than the previous support and bounces again, I will have a higher low. And that might be an indication, but then it's already so close to your previous purchase price that it's almost not worth it to top up. But then again, have a look at what other shares you have in your portfolio to make that decision. That's why it's so important that if you do not trade with a stop loss and you use averages to build on a position, to when you make that first bite, it shouldn't be too big. Otherwise, you might become into trouble later on when you want to add to the position and you will be overexposed. Let's have a look at Sibanye. Reuven wanted us to look at Sibanye, and when we discussed it previously, we mentioned that 40-week moving average is a critical level. And look how beautiful Sibanye found support there around the 40-week moving average. Again, another beautiful morning star formation with a strong bearish engulfing candle, a gravestone doji, and that strong bullish engulfing candle. And that inverse head and shoulder formation is still on the table here, with the left shoulder, possible head, and the possible right shoulder. So a target, Reuven, might be this inverse, that neckline of the inverse head and shoulder formation, which is waiting here around 16 Rand 68. But I would look at the candles to make sure that they help me make my decision. Because one, it's obviously the weaker Rand that has had an effect here, as well as the gold price itself. And I want to have a look at that as well. My stochastic is pointing beautifully to the upside, and I can see on there's still a lot of room for more upside. So maybe a target for your trade, Reuven, can be that 1668, maybe even 1742, and then strong resistance here when that possible tweezer top found resistance there around 1798. So the conservative target, should this inverse head and shoulder formation play out, can be a possible, that's a skew line, never mind, take us to 22 Rand 31, and then the possible full target of the formation can be even maybe 27 Rand 90 in time to come. Keep in mind, it's not going to do that in one line. It's going to breathe and move up and down. Let's quickly have a look at the gold price. And I've previously said 1,357 is a crucial level for gold, because we can see that previously, every time the gold price reached these levels, it found resistance. March 2018, July 2016. Here it was a false break and it retraced again below it in March 2014. And that possible inverse head and, well, I can't call it possible anymore, because it is a confirmed head and shoulder formation. Should the gold price close on Friday, when the US market closes above $1,317, that inverse head and shoulder formation will be confirmed. Why do I say only Friday? Because this is a weekly graph, and weekly graphs end at the Friday closing price. So this possible inverse head and shoulder formation is a beautiful formation that has been confirmed, and that means optimism. And we can see that this 1357 is a critical level. Should the gold price break this $1357 level into a support, we can see new levels on the gold price as high as 1,386, 1,414, 1,434. And we know that when this formation plays out completely, it can take the gold price as high as $1,450.